looking forward to, ever since Marty agreed to come and have a wee chat with us today. I'm not going to tell you too much about Marty, apart from we've known him for many years, and he's what we describe in Belfast as a character. We all know what that means. He's also a fantastic conversationalist, a brilliant entrepreneur, and he is one of the leading lights in supporting small business and enterprise, and I would say music here in Belfast. And I'm proud to call him a friend of mine, even though we don't see each other as much as I would like to. Now, when I normally prepare thoroughly, as everybody knows, for these things, I don't just turn up with a hat on. I try to have Q&As and everything down, but I ran out of time this week. Michelle's actually gone away, left me to my own devices, and that's always caused trouble. So rather than prepare proper questions, I'm doing an experiment today. And the experiment is, I went to AI, I asked it to give me 20 questions that I could ask Marty Neill from our boss about his upcoming event, which is called Barcamp. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick them randomly and read them. And Marty's going to answer them. He wants to use AI, but that's not the way.
No, I'll not use chat or Gemini or Grok or any of those.
So we're going to give this a go for the next 15 minutes or so. What I would like you guys to do is think of really good questions. Think of really good questions, not just for Marty, but for also, you can ask Marty a question, you can ask me a question, you can ask anybody around the table a question. That's the point. Your question has to be short and snappy. You've got one question, and it's no more than 2 minutes to ask your question. It can't be a monologue. And whoever's answering the question should be a short and snappy answer to it as well. And that's what Marty's going to do now. It's like a quick fire quiz.
That's annoying me, Martin. That's going to ruin our shot.
No, sure, take it out. Sorry. We're good looking men, but I'll take the beer away, sure.
No, the beer's fine. At lunchtime for Odie's is all good.
See, the thing is,
my word.
Here's the funny thing. I don't drink, and Michelle's away in the Isle of Man, and she's going to see this wee video, and she's going to go, "Whoop." There he goes. What's he doing, by the way? Right, so, everyone, we shall start. I think the first question is easiest, Marty.
I'm just impressed AI knows anything about me. This is good.
It doesn't.
It doesn't?
No. Surprising. Marty, if you can tell us, who are you and what do you do?
Oh, Martin, I hate this question. I just do stuff. I run about doing stuff, you know. And some of those stuff has been a retail system for a software system for retailers that helps them to sell in their shops, to sell online and take payments. And that's AirPods. That would be my main drag. The OEM Music Centre, which is Ireland's only music centre dedicated to helping young people find their way in music and the business of music. Northern Ireland's first tech accelerator, Start 6, which became Raise Ventures, a support organisation for small startup businesses. Base Arcade, the world's first pop-up retro arcade, which is going to evolve into the Retro Room, which will be Belfast's first retro arcade, which will be in the Watson building, ex-Frames premises down beside the Belfast Telegraph building from around October, aiming for a Halloween night, launch night and all of that. And other things that'll come to me as we talk, but it's all, the best version I've ever done of this is on the Best of Belfast podcast. I must have been really awake that day, so go check it out. If you want to know more, that's the best version. I remembered most of it.
Yeah, no, you had a very brilliant interviewer there in Matt Top.
That's good,
yeah. So good cry, and check out Best of Belfast. It's a fantastic
podcast. Yeah, great.
Tell us about the OES Centre. What is the OES Centre?
The OES Centre is what Jimmy Nesbitt called a big warehouse full of music with a roof. That was Jimmy's intro at the launch night, because Jimmy had been out with Ruby Wax the night before. He fell off the wagon and kept Jimmy up all night. But anyway, it's oh jeez, there's many more. Trust me. It's in Gordon Street, in Cathedral Quarter. It's a big ex-whiskey warehouse that was owned by Billy McBurney, who was the founder of Outlet Records, who was a particularly maverick music entrepreneur in the 1950s and 60s in Northern Ireland. So Billy, the story of Billy was he was bringing the flute bands in one door and the Republican bands out the next, right? So you had a recording studio, and Men Behind the Wire was recorded there, Simply the Best First Italian EVF was recorded there, all this sort of stuff.
It was because you're planning a bar camp, and it potentially is going to be in the OES Centre.
Yeah.
What is a bar camp for anybody who doesn't know?
So now we head on Andy McMillan, right? So in the kind of emerging and nascent tech sector in Northern Ireland, there's this very strange kid running around who calls himself Good on Paper, right? who's a designer at this point, but he's like Andy's the best snob I've ever met, right? He's just so, his standards for everything are so up here, right, that he's hard to like. He'll not mind me saying this. He's hard to like because the standards are so up here, right? But everything he did was up here. So when he was a designer, it had to be up here. And when he started doing networking events, he basically created the concept of Barcamp, right? Which he then very kindly open sourced, right? So everything Andy does, he invites other people to do.
He also set up Established Coffee.
He set up Open Coffee, Barcamp, Established Coffee. I mean, he did the Build conference, which was one of the biggest web conferences in the world, which was in Belfast, which had people come from all over the planet to come here and go to a web design conference that was, again, standards are up here, you know. He did the first ever Belfast co-working space, Core. The list is endless. He did the first ever web design thing called the Manual, which goes on eBay for scandalous money now. That one.
I can remember Manual was the very first, what do you call the fundraiser, crowdfunder? Kickstarter. Yeah. That was the first time I heard of Kickstarter. Andy came and told me he was doing this thing where, I mean, it's going to be a Kickstarter. He raised over £150,000 for the Manual.
That's crazy. And he's gone on, so he went to Portland. I seen him about this time last year, actually October last year. Went out and seen him. Hadn't seen him in 6-7 years. Hasn't changed a bit. Exactly the same. He has Sucker Punch, which is a non-alcoholic brewery, and Heck, which is a non-alcoholic bar in Portland. In between times, he ran the XOXO festival, which is one of the biggest tech festivals in the US. And basically, it's a genius idea, and I wish to God he would do it over here. Brought together all the crowdfunding companies and put them all in one place.
So what's a Barcamp?
A Barcamp is a bunch of interesting people get together at a bar. Right. It's pretty much that.
That's what it was.
Yeah, and then you figure out the agenda on the day.
Right, okay, because the first Barcamp I went to with Andy McMillan was down in the University of Ulster, way back in the midst of time, before the new university, the old university. And it was like breakout rooms and stuff, right?
Yeah, that would have been the bigger one. So, well, you can do that, but it's effectively an unconference.
Right.
Right. So you get together, you get a bunch of people. It's always in a bar. Barcamp's always in a bar. That's just the policy, right? You get a bunch of people and you vote on agenda on the day. That's it. So someone comes in and says, "I want to do a talk about product development," and everybody goes, "That sounds good. Let's do that."
Oh.
And you go and do that.
Excellent.
And the breakout rooms are kind of organised on the day as well, you know. Now Andy might have put a wee bit more organisation around it. I don't think he did. The Derry one was very the Derry one was a big unconference. That was very big, you know. Which first time I met Lear McKay.
There you go. Yeah.
As well.
Last one passed.
Last one passed indeed. So yeah, there's all sorts of you know, the connections. So Andy, for such a guy who's not particularly social, right? Yeah, he brought together hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people of like mind and created companies and created all sorts of things. Marriages, you name it, were created in these rooms. And yeah, you know, so I mean, what's happened since, unfortunately, is when the bigger tech companies started to come in, so when the FDI started to come into Belfast, the foreign direct investments, they started to very smartly hire recruiters out of recruitment companies. So instead of going to a recruitment company and going finding people, they hired the top recruiters out of recruitment companies, which was very smart. Then the recruiters went, well, all these open source events are a great way, and they basically hijacked them and took them all over. That's kind of past. That hasn't really happened in a long time. And I was talking to Andy last year, and I just said, mate, you know what? What's missing in Northern Ireland is you, right? To put these events together again.
You're not making me feel bad here.
It's a different different type of thing. You know, it's a different type of
absolutely.
Because again, Andy's going to go for the 150 grand,
I know.
the 2,000 people, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Right?
So if we don't have Andy, and we're not going to have Andy because he's not an American citizen, he's staying in Portland, I sort of thought, why don't we have a crack at reviving some of these things, just because they were brilliant fun, for the main reason, but also because there's a whole new generation of tech entrepreneurs who haven't had the pleasure.
Yeah, and the other thing is they develop stuff. You know, the things that happen in these conversations, and like there's support, as you say, courses for courses. What I did was different. It was on a completely different skills in a completely different way. But the reason we all come together and do these things is the connections that we make and the opportunities come out of it. And every single event, and that's why Marty does it as well. Every single event we do creates opportunities for people to come together, and Barcamp and BizCamp and all those types of things, which used to happen in the past, don't happen so much more, are fantastic. And that's why I was delighted when you said that you were thinking about doing it again.